What if I told you the fight for Korea's freedom wasn't just soldiers running through the rice fields of China, but it actually began from the classrooms of Tokyo and the revolutionary camps of Yan'an? To understand the concept of Gwangbokjeol, let's review Korean history through World War II and the story of Yu Gwan-sun, Kim San, and the Song of Arirang. Every August, Korea celebrates Liberation Day. August 15 is one of the main public holidays in Korea, where a lot of people hang the taekuki outside their homes to celebrate the day Korea was liberated from Japanese rule. But what is Liberation Day in Korea? So August 15th marks the year Korea got liberated from Japan, and this year will be the 80th year. It's actually very recent because that was 1945 and some people born then are still alive today in Korea. So Gwangbokjeol was the day Korea was liberated, and it is also known as Victory over Japan Day, which basically marks the end of World War II. Gwang meaning light, Bok means restore, Chol means holiday. So it means Korea finally restored their country and their nation from Japanese colonial law. If you're into history, you might also know Korea was colonized by Japan for almost 35 years, from 1910 to 1945, and Japan's surrendering ended Korea colonial rule and the war thanks to Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the voices of a lot of brave Korean activists such as Yu Gwan-sun, Kim Gu-sun, and Kim San. So Gwangbokjeol is to celebrate both the liberation of Korea from Japan's colonial rule in 1945 and the establishment of the government of the Republic of Korea in 1948, because they both happened on the same day, August 15th. Some Koreans call it Victory over Japan Day, but it's not to imply that they defeated Japan, but they prefer to call it that because during the Japanese colonial rule, Korea basically didn't have their own culture, because since they were colonized by Japan and in 1910, when the Korean peninsula came under control by Japanese colonial rule, Korean citizens were not even allowed to speak Korean language in public because it was against the Japanese law. So they couldn't speak Korean, they had to speak Japanese, and they couldn't even answer Korean names either. They all had Japanese names, hence the reason why heroes of resistance like Kim San was legally documented as Janjirak under official Japanese documents. And the reason why Japan did this was in order to delete Korean culture entirely, because in order for one nation to maintain their power over another country, they had to eradicate their culture, because culture was a very important aspect. So basically, there was no Korean identity, zero. And if you refuse to adhere to Japanese culture or not have a Japanese name, you would not be allowed to go to school. No education, no food, or you'd be beaten and sent off to war, so you could get killed for loving your country. So Koreans had to kind of accept the Japanese culture. Also, Koreans don't call it Independence Day like many other countries. And the reason is that before Korea was colonized by Japan, Korea already had a long history of empires and dynasties, and Korea was already a nation before 1910. So calling it Independence Day would feel like not including the long history of Korea during the reign of kings and the Korean dynasty. Whereas liberation or restoration signifies that you got back your sovereign power from those who took it from you. And the liberation happened in 1945, so Koreans would rather love to call it Liberation Day instead of Independence Day. And Gwangbokjeol would not be possible without significant Korean activists like Yu Gwan-sun, who as a teenage schoolgirl bravely participated during the March 1st movement in 1919, and April 1st, a month later, also violently led over 2,000 people in a peaceful demonstration protesting against the Japanese colonists with shouts of "Tehandomi Manse, long live Korean independence." At only 17, she waved a taekuki high in protest until she was struck down by Japanese soldiers and arrested. Her parents were shot and killed by Japanese authorities, and she was consequently imprisoned, where she was repeatedly tortured. "Japan will fall," she wrote, while undergoing beatings and torture in prison, holding on to her hopes and beliefs of a free Korea before eventually dying in prison. And today, her courage is a lasting symbol of Korea's fight for freedom. So you could say that even though Japan crushed the protests, they could not kill the dream, because while some Korean resistance fled across the sea to fight, some activists like Kim Gu-sun led the Korean provisional government in Shanghai. And while some historical names like Hongbon-do waged the guerrilla war in the Manchurian Hills, coinciding with the Second World War, others like Kim San joined the great tide of Korean revolutions in China, believing that Korea's freedom would rise with Asia's liberation. So even though for 35 years the Korean flag was hidden, it did not remain forgotten by her people. So on August 15, 1945, Japan surrendered, ending World War II, and also liberated the Korean peninsula, which marked the end of 35 years of Japanese colonial rule. And the Korean people for the first time took to the streets and openly waved the Taekuki for the first time in decades. And many of the people who experienced the colonial rule, many of whom are still alive today, rejoiced over the news of the nation's liberation with old songs of Arirang, and that commemorates the annual anniversary of Gwangbokjeol, the day the light returned. And it also happens to be the only political holiday that is celebrated in both North and South Korea. So it's a very important historic day for Korean people, and it's a public holiday that each August 15, Koreans remember not just as the day Japan's rule ended, but the decades of courage that made it possible. Yu Gwan-sun's defiance, Kim Go's leadership, Kim San's sacrifice, the countless nameless faces who fought in the shadows and in daylight. It's a day of flags and music, of gratitude and remembrance. So it's Korea's Liberation Day, the day the light returned. Today, we also remember how hard it was to bring it back, and it's because of that fight we have the Korea we know and love today. The one that gave the world K-pop, K-dramas, and K-culture. Like, imagine there's no K-pop, no K-drama, no K-culture. Yeah, that means there would have been no K-culture for me to enjoy in Africa right now. Yeah, so we have the vibrant, proud, and shining world of Korean culture on the stage today because of Gwangbokjeol, Korea's Liberation Day. And it's a very important day for Koreans and for everyone that loves Korean culture, Korean food, Korean drama, Korean pop stars. And I just wanted to quickly introduce what August 15th is about and why it is celebrated as a national holiday rather than just another day where, people don't go to work or school. Well, I hope you found this video useful. And to join in celebrating the National Liberation Day as a K-influencer, I'm waving the Taekuki in honor from my room in Nigeria. Let's always reflect as people to honor the past, appreciate the present, and protect the future because all lives matter. Happy Gwangbokjeol, 여러분. 대한민국 만세. See you next time. 다음에 또 봐요. Appreciate the present and protect the future because all lives matter. Because and to join in celebrating the National Liberation Day as a K influencer, I'm waving the Taekwondo key in honor.